everybody, and welcome to another amazing video of DIY investing. Now is the moment where we finally need to go all into the altcoin markets. Altcoin indexes are breaking out and making new all-time highs. Ethereum is moments away from following Bitcoin's last cycle and rocketing upwards of $20,000 per coin. This is the moment that we've all been building our positions for the last 3.5 years, understanding the 4-year cycle and how we always peak at the Q4 of the ending of that bull market. We are following the exact same trend that we always have. There is no difference. I have made life-changing amounts of money in the crypto market. I have been all into these markets for the last decade. With what I'm seeing inside of the charts today, I have nothing but confidence. We are moments away from a true blow-off top and the ending of this cycle where life-changing amounts of wealth will be generated for long-term investors. Today, I'm going to break down my favorite charts, explain exactly why this is such an important time for investors, and most importantly, how we can go about capitalizing off of this life-changing wealth that's before us. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you find any value in this video, please do me a favor. Hit that like, comment, and subscribe button. Without further ado, let's jump right into this amazing video today. Here we are jumping into today's video, and I wanted to come in and actually take a look at Bitcoin. Before we come into the altcoins, we're going to be analyzing this 4-year cycle because, guys, we are at the very ending of this bull market. There is no doubt in my mind. This is the final stage of this cycle where we can either look to make a lot of life-changing wealth, or we're going to miss out entirely and hold all the way back down again like so many of us have done over the last 4, 8+ years. That's just the staple of the crypto markets. Most people will never sell. Most people will hold all the way back down, and the ones that do make some money, you're going to end up costing yourself by buying back in at the top, recycling profits into things that are overvalued. So we're going to be talking about this. We know, historically speaking, Bitcoin has followed these 4-year trends. Every single bear market bottom is always 4 years from the last bear market bottom, and that's been the case every single one of our cycles. If we come over here and we draw from the bottom of the cycle to the top, it's about a 3-year uptrend, 1,064 days, and then from that top back down to the bear market bottom, it's about exactly a year. This one was 364 days, only 1 day shy of being a perfect calendar year. If we look at our last cycle, 1,071 days up from where that peak all-time high was all the way back down to the bear market bottom, 371 days. So once again, 3 years up, 1 year down. Now with this cycle that we've been in, this is the most unique cycle that we've been a part of because something different has happened. We have maintained higher highs and higher lows, growing on this parabolic trend without any sort of meaningful blow off top or breakout. If we come over here, where we bottomed at the ending of the FTX collapse, which was in November 2022, was perfectly 4 years from our last cycle low that we saw in 2017. Or 2018, I should say. And then from that point, all we did was maintain higher highs and higher lows without any sort of euphoria, right? At least in the last cycle, we still had a whole year to go before the ending of that cycle, and we really started running into a new all-time high. We had all of this euphoria that took place in that first run between DeFi summer, the NFT craze, meme coins were blowing up. There was a lot of hype throughout this period. We have never seen anywhere close to that level of euphoria, and all we've really seen is our market just grinding on this parabolic trend all the way into a new all-time highs without any sort of meaningful blow off top. But not only are the time frames the same, but the price action is really the only thing that differs so far. We're just missing the blow off top. If we're looking at historically where we've peaked, from the bottom of this cycle, 1,064 days is pretty much going to be taking us to about October 20th. So we know that where the 4-year cycle projects us to peak, the 3-year up, 1 year down, we are right there at the very ending of it. Now, historically speaking, where we have peaked, Bitcoin peaked in December, the very ending of December in 2017. Bitcoin peaked in November of our last cycle. So we know that we have peaked at the ending of that year. Which month always varies, right? However, in 2017, Bitcoin peaked in December and altcoins peaked in January. In the last cycle, Bitcoin and the altcoins peaked in November. So we don't for sure know how this cycle will play out, but what I can confidently say is because we've just built this sustained uptrend all the way into new all-time highs without any sort of meaningful blow off top, I do firmly believe that that is what is about to happen right now. And this blow off top has the very real potential of getting extremely overextended in a short period of time. Historically speaking, that's what you're expecting in a blow off top. Even if we look at our last cycle, the amount of time it took from when we really started the run to the peak point, it was only about 140 days that Bitcoin spent going from $11,000 to $60,000. So all of that happened in a very short period of time. It was all of this sideways action and then this double top type price action that took us all the way into the ending of that 4-year cycle. Even if we look in 2017, Bitcoin went from $3,000 to $20,000 in just 91 days. So historically, the blow off top happens in a very short period of time, and we shouldn't be underestimating the potential that it does the exact same thing. You know, from where the bottom of this correction was, if we run, 100 days or 91 days, you're pretty much looking November, the ending of November. If we run 100 days, you're looking at December. If we end up peaking at January, that's about 133 days. So remember, it was 140 days for our move from 11K to 60K, and it was 91 days from 3K to 20K in 2017. So the idea that Bitcoin can't run for 130 days just into a new all-time high going parabolic, I mean, that's to be expected. So far, even though we've lagged into Q4 a little bit, I don't think that anything has changed with this cycle. We're still perfectly following the 4-year trend, and really what we're looking for is just this final 4 months left to take our profits into this blow off top before that next bear market starts. I'm not going to be surprised if Bitcoin rallies upwards over $250,000. And it really comes down to the way that this price action has developed. This is all just institutional demand. Higher highs and higher lows. The volatility has died out because the institutions are accumulating all of this fear and all of this panic that people have had. There's been a lot of long-term Bitcoin investors from all the way back down here in the early days that have been taking profit throughout the entirety of this move. And as the institutions are the ones accumulating all of that. So we have really seen a stagnation in the volatility. There hasn't been a ton of volatility. It's a lot of just choppy price action designed to shake out all of the weak hands, designed to take the money from the average person and give it to the institutions. Now that the institutions have accumulated, they've already done what they need to. We are at the moment where we're going to see this final blow off top take place over the course of the next few months. And as that happens, this is the moment of opportunity where we have a real chance of making financial wealth beyond our wildest dreams. I've been into crypto for 8 years. I've been all in for every single cycle, and I do firmly believe that this is the cycle we need to once again be all in again, because guys, everything we need to see is playing out. Not only are we following a perfect 4-year cycle, not only are we in Q4, which is historically speaking the best time for the Bitcoin and the altcoins to rally, but all of this is happening at the same time in which Bitcoin dominance is actually topped. We had this massive bearish divergence that had been forming for the last 2 years. We had finally broken down from that over in here, and we've successfully confirmed a lower low and a lower high. Rejected, lower low, lower high. And in my opinion, this thing is about to fall all the way back down to 46 and then all the way back down to this 40% region. This is where all of the altcoin profit is going to be generated. Every cycle we see these altcoins rally and break out. But it only happens once the Bitcoin dominance tops and starts to fall lower. I believe that the next portion of the cycle is where the altcoins are really going to start picking up in a big way, and most people are just going to be unsuspecting of what is coming. Most people have already written off the potential that their altcoins are going to pump hard, and because of this, many people have already started to panic sell and move into Bitcoin, move into something that they feel a little bit more confident in. And I think that was really the design of this parabolic impulse. Because we haven't had any euphoria yet, so many people aren't anticipating it. And so many people are also sidelined, waiting, thinking, oh man, we're going to get a deeper dip. Oh, this is going to be a bad, FOMC is going to be a sell the news. And I don't think that that's what's going to happen, because all that's really about to take place here is the Bitcoin dominance is going to start dropping at a much quicker pace, and then that's where, historically speaking, the altcoins start their parabolic rallies. So we have a big way to go before we're at the point where we need to be taking profits on the altcoins. We still have the rest of this year to go before this is most likely going to end up around this 40% region. And as that's happening, Ethereum has done nothing but continue to follow what we needed to see. Ethereum had this massive breakout, right? We had this resistance that we had been below for months and months, really years, all the way dating back to our last cycle where we ended up peaking at the top of that move. Remember, this was the peak in the midsummer, and this was the peak of the all-time high in November. We had always been flirting with this level, whether it was resistance, whether it was support, sometimes it was both in between. But even in the beginning of this cycle, we rejected off of this level 4 different times. And then we finally managed to flip that just recently over the last couple months. Now that ETH has flipped this level, we are moments away from confirming the next big breakout into this cycle. And what I've always told you guys about this current cycle for ETH is if we actually compare it to the Bitcoin chart, all it's ever been doing is following Bitcoin's price action, right? Where Bitcoin peaked at the 2618 and 3618, Ethereum is following the same exact price structure, where we basically just had this lower high, this resistance. Ethereum, it was right over in this period. We rejected off of it. We had that COVID capitulation that happened right here. It was a little different. Obviously, we didn't have COVID inside of the Ethereum chart, but we followed the same exact fractal, where we had this kind of peak move from the bottom of our cycle low. And then once we finished that capitulation and broke out, that was really what signaled the next big move inside of the Ethereum chart. And what I believe happens next, we can look at the Fibonacci and we can compare it to Bitcoin. And based off of Bitcoin's last cycle, if we were to continue to follow identical price structure like we already have, we're going to be topping somewhere between the 2618 and the 3618. The same thing that happened over in here. We're looking at the same exact price action between Ethereum and Bitcoin. It's following the same exact price action, and they always do. I've always said that. Even if we look back at the 2017 cycle for Bitcoin, this type of price action is the same that Ethereum went through in our last bull market. The same double bottom formation that took place right here, it's the same move that happened for Bitcoin. Even the lower high in the beginning of that lower low, it's the same one that happened right here for Bitcoin. Ethereum always copies the Bitcoin price. This move is the same as this move. The peak blow off top, all the way back down. Even starting the new cycle, it was pretty much the same thing. Now going into our current cycle, we're just seeing Ethereum follow the same exact fractal once more. It's always syncing up to whatever Bitcoin does. And now as we're looking at Ethereum going all the way from $13,000 to about $18,200, that's where the 2618 and the 3618 are, we're going to be looking at an absolutely massive move. And I think it's all going to happen in one big go, right? More or less, what we're going to be looking at here for Ethereum, this great big parabolic move all in one big leap. And that's going to be taking us to the ending of this year. I think that we peak at the ending. December, January, either of those months is fine because that's where I'm going to be looking to sell. I'm not going to be holding into February and March because I think that there's too much risk involved with doing so. But guys, understand that as Ethereum makes this big move, all of the on-chain demand is going to be taking off. And it doesn't matter which chain it is. All of the altcoins are going to be taking off because altcoins wait for Ethereum. Once the confidence in the market is back in Ethereum's hands, that's where all of the other altcoins are going to start to break out. And we can see that indicated by our indexes. This is the total market cap 3. And in my opinion, this is the most important index that we have outside of Bitcoin dominance because we already know that Bitcoin dominance is topped and we're starting that big decline. If we come over here and look at the total 3, we have successfully made a new all-time high for the first time this cycle, but we're successfully breaking back out and making another new high. We have been coiling below this downtrending resistance of the all-time highs for a long time. We have made attempts at breaking out, but we have been unable to do that 2 different times now. But we have been spending 3.5 years just coiling on this parabolic trend, awaiting a blow off top. Now that we're here and we're finally breaking out and making a new all-time high, this is going to do the same thing as the chart I just showed you. It's all going to happen in one big move. We are going to see one great big breakout happening just over the next few months, and that's what's going to catch people by surprise. Most people don't think it's possible that the market can go this vertical that fast. But I remind you, every one of our prior cycles do this. Once the parabolic rally starts, whether we're at the all-time highs and then it starts, or whether we're all the way down at the cycle low and it starts, the last cycle was at the cycle low. But look how fast this impulse actually was once we started to break out. That's what's to be expected right over in here. I think because we've spent so much time coiling, most people are just pretty much shaken out. They've sold their altcoins, they've moved on, or they're just sitting here in cash sidelined waiting to buy in at a lower dip. That lower dip is not going to come. In fact, what's going to come is the opposite. You're going to see extreme markup beyond your wildest dreams, levels that you never thought possible, altcoins just breaking up, making the biggest new all-time highs you've ever seen. And because we've spent all of this time building the foundation of support to get here, I think most people are underestimating just how powerful this cycle is still going to be. So guys, as we're wrapping up the ending of this video, as we're wrapping up not only the ending of this video, but the ending of this cycle, once again, if there's a time to go all into the market, I think that this is my time to go all in. I've already been all in, I've been investing into these markets, but I think that if you've been waiting on the sidelines, you're not going to get a better opportunity to jump in than now. Considering if you wait any longer, you're going to get priced out. You're going to wait for a dip that never comes. And I'm not kidding you when I say that I think the dips are going to be just about this small along the whole way up. Most people are not expecting what is coming, and every single one of our charts is showing this. Ethereum is going to do this massive parabolic move upwards of $20,000 per coin. And you guys know for a fact, if ETH runs upwards of $20,000 per coin, the entire ecosystem of crypto is going to be blowing up. There's going to be so much gains to be made on cryptos that are more undervalued. Some of these new layer ones that we've been talking about. There are so many new projects, AI. We have NFTs that are still around that I think are going to have a run. This is where all of that is going to kind of come up at the same exact time into a euphoric cycle top. You guys, we have never seen this level of accumulation in a 4-year trend. We have never seen this level of accumulation without a blow off top. I think that over the next 130 days, that's where we're going to see this thing take off the most. So if you have your positions, hold them, stick to the 4-year cycle. Once again, we're holding and looking to sell at the ending of this year. But guys, this is my plan. This is what I see happening, and I would love to have you guys a part of the group if you guys do want to join. Links are in the description if you do want to check out my private group. I'm going to be covering everything that we're going to need over the rest of this cycle, calling some altcoins right now in the bottom of this dip. But then also we're going to be looking at taking profits most importantly. If you guys want to know how I'm going to be taking profits at the ending of this cycle, if you want to be able to know exactly when I take my profits, you guys got to join my private group because that's where I'm going to be talking through everybody. If you guys are in there, you can ask me direct questions. If you have questions on your portfolio, where you should be looking to exit, different things like that, I can be able to walk you guys through the way that I'm personally doing it in my trading plan. So if this is interesting, links are in the description to sign up for my website. With that being said, I'll catch you guys in the next one. As always, peace out.